Hi, I'm Steve.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Kylie.
And you're watching Rambee's Projects. See, this channel's not all about automotive stuff. It's about family. It's about life. It's about Kylie getting her hair did. It's not all about autos. But a couple days ago, we did an unboxing at Chester County Transmission. The unboxing was on the gear swap. And then we went to the Jeep shop, and I had to make sure our first build that we did. Look, this girl's getting cracked. She's getting cracked already. You better listen to your mama. I had to put our decal and the JP Shop's decal in the glove box. If you buy this Jeep, you're gonna know it was done right because we're gonna put some goodies in the glove box. So if you buy this Jeep and you open up the glove box and you find this stuff in here, you know it was done right. We wanted to make sure we left our mark in that Jeep, but we didn't actually attach the decal or anything. They're in there for if you want to put it on the Jeep, but we wanted to sneak them in there so you guys know, as the customer, you know your Jeep was done right. We're out at Chester County Transmissions in Thorndale, Pennsylvania.
Thorndale, Pennsylvania.
All right, see, I was right. Thorndale, Pennsylvania. Andy Szczesniuk is about ready to unbox all these items. We're gonna go inspect everything before we schedule this to do this job.
Because you don't want to be halfway through it, you know, running into issues. So yeah, we definitely want to go through everything, make sure we got all the right stuff, so you know it's just one and done. And where did you get all this stuff from?
These are from East Coast Gear Supply.
Okay.
And I got that from Garofalo Enterprises.
We use East Coast too, so great company. We've never had any issues. Really fun to deal with on the phone. I mean, we also use Rockland Standard Gear for some of our stuff, and we also use Randy's Ring and Pinion, which is a great company. This is a serious cover. So do we have ones for both front and back?
No, I'm just doing the back.
Just the back? Okay. All right. Already comes with seal bead in it and fasteners. Perfect. Fasteners are definitely by far the most overlooked thing. I mean, we had a customer recently want to supply their own parts, which, just so you know, guys, we don't typically let customers supply their own parts, but this is a unique scenario. But yeah, so he brought the cover, and there were no bolts. And then we asked for bolts, and he brought ones that were too short to go with the gasket. So it's always nice when you get everything as a package. This way, again, we don't want surprises when we get into this stuff.
Trust me, guys. Everyone knows I did my research before I ordered any of this stuff. I did a lot of research. And actually, East Coast Gear Supply were the only ones that had half a brain when you talk to them on the phone.
Right. Well, that's just it. A lot of these parts ordering places, and again, I can't encourage you enough that if you guys are out there and you're going to spend the time to try to get your own stuff, go with a reputable place, because you get some of these places you find on Amazon and on eBay and just the cheapest place on the block. You really do get what you pay for, and that's all the way down to customer service. I mean, East Coast Gear Supply is great about calling with technical issues. So, you know, if you're trying to do some of this stuff on your own, which, you know, I don't want to discourage, but it is a complicated procedure. And, you know, if you need some help, they are great on the phone. So stick with them. It's a good source. And again, so Yukon Gears, fantastic. I mean, if you deal with, like I said, we deal with Randy's Ring and Pinion, and this is all they supply. And this generally, Yukon is about the only stuff that we'll put in. They aren't the most affordable, but you know, you're going to go through a big project like this, and do you want to cut corners and get the cheapest bearings and the cheapest gears? That just never makes sense.
And do you want to cut corners and try to do it yourself if you've never done one of these before? Absolutely not. That's why you're going to have to come to Chester County Transmission.
Just get it all out. There we go. This is going to be our gear set. It's not the boxes that make the gears, so.
We're messing up your conference table.
No. It's what it's here for. So it clearly came in, even though that looked like a rough removal, I think it was so tough because the styrofoam was, as you can see, pretty well mutilated. Which isn't typically how you would get stuff from Yukon or East Coast. So again, everything always comes wrapped in the styrofoam and the plastic. But most importantly, there's a coating on here that's designed to you know, inhibit rust. It's usually oil-based for obvious reasons. Water-based would only add to the problem.
Yeah, we don't want it to rust.
Nope. Nope. But I can tell you, just, and this is a small deviation, we have received parts that have two different types of protectants on them, water-based and oil-based. So we always make sure we wash with soap and water, as well as a solvent or petroleum-based cleaner, because you don't want anything left behind. So, and it looks like this gear set, so whenever you get a gear set, it's important to understand that both this ring and pinion, let me go ahead and open the pinion first before we get into it, that these are a matched set. So when these were milled, they were run together. And the proof of that is the paint markings here. So when this was manufactured, it was manufactured as a pair, and they are meant to be used together. So if you were to say you just had a chip in your ring gear and you thought you were just going to bolt this ring gear in there and use it with the existing pinion, could it work? Sure. Would it make a loud noise? Absolutely. You never want it. So, and it can lead to gear damage and premature wear and failure ultimately. So, yeah, I mean, this is what you want to see. You always want to see a set. The fact that we see a pattern here, I mean, again, if you guys are going to roll the dice with something off eBay or Amazon and you're not seeing that, well, told you so. Since our styrofoam is destroyed, we're just going to put this off to the side.
Want me to grab it?
Yeah, no, I'm good with it. And so it's manageable as two separate components. It's when they're together that so just so you guys can see. I had a surgery here, tore my bicep last September. So
Andy's out of commission.
I'm kind of pussyfooting around a little bit, but that's the doc said. So all right, next box. Well, yeah, we'll go through these. These are going to be our bearing kits for both the front and rear. It's not really anything too exciting here. Maybe a few things I'll just point out. So any good quality bearing kit, obviously this stuff is all sealed, but what we want to see when we have a good quality kit is we want to see that we have a shim pack. So this is going to allow us to make adjustments to backlash, which is backlash and bearing preload, the two most critical and most commonly overlooked aspects of building a differential. And then here we are supplied with an acid brush, and that's the paint. That's the same. You see that yellow there? Here we're looking at, it's like a neon color, but it's just in the industry, this is what you're going to see. It's going to be some form of a yellow. And again, it's important that you run this paint pattern and gear contact pattern anytime you're building a diff. And in order to do that, you're going to need to have some paint. So it came with that, which is awesome. And you know what? I've tried to buy this from like a local Napa, an AutoZone. You can't get it. They gave you something and it's never the right stuff. It doesn't hold on properly. So whatever comes with these gears and bearings is the right stuff. So you're always going to want to look for that one way or the other. Because if you don't have it, you're not going to be able to do the job right. This is our seal, our pinion seal. Whenever you're doing a job like this, you're going to be required to remove it, but don't think that maybe you can lightly pound it out and try to reuse it. Just, forget about it. Again, it's thousands of dollars worth of stuff, labor, parts. You're not going to cut this corner. So yeah, this is your typical set. These two big ones here are going to be our carrier bearings most likely, and these are going to be our pinion bearings. This is huge stuff. I mean, this is big boy toys for sure, guys. Big boy toys. This one here, this is our front set here. So there we have it. Basically the same. It's all in one package instead of two because we're dealing with smaller bearings because it's the front differential. It doesn't nearly see the continuous load like the rear differential does. But it's all the right stuff. All the right stuff for sure. Here they actually gave us some ring gear bolts, which is nice. More often than not, you'll find yourself not necessarily needing these because the bolts that come off are generally reusable. You just got to make sure whether or not they're left hand or right hand thread. It's a common mistake. You go to zing them off and you bust the head right off because it's left hand thread. And then also that you're using a proper Loctite during assembly. But it is always nice to have them in case you have some sort of a mistake along the way. But yeah, this is another good set. Our paint's in there. And then, again, you can see because they supplied the bolts, this little tube right here, that tube there is actually a Loctite. So again, UConn does a great job making sure you have everything you need to get the job done right the first time, except for the guy to do it, So, but that's why we're here, right?
Right. The transmission actually threw a code last week. It was having difficulty shifting it was getting confused between 4th and 5th gear, and most likely it's because of my 37-inch tires.
Well, there's no doubt that your tires are not doing it any favors at all.
This is an overdue surgery for the beast.
One thing that is important with today's vehicles more than it's ever been, and it almost disheartens me to say it, is that computer programming and software is just such a key element anymore. It's not like back in the days with carburetors and stuff. And I say back in the day, I mean, I'm not even from carburetor days, obviously. But then that's when you can make adjustments to things and tune things in to make it the way you want. Anymore, every vehicle on the road, the one you're probably driving today, has some sort of a computer program in it that adjusts over time, but the manufacturer makes adjustments also over time. So a lot of new vehicles, when I say new, I'm saying mid-2000s and up, there's software updates, just like our phones. Our phones get software updates. Well, your car and your trucks, you have software updates. So, in the case of the Dodge having some shifting issues, our recommendation would typically be step one, make sure you have the current calibration in the computer. We're dealing with a couple of those today. Look at this. We got ourselves some oil. That's not too often that you see that come along, but that's a good thing. And this company, Lucas, if there's ever any oil or additive aftermarket that we recommend, this is a fantastic company. Been around for a long time. This isn't snake oil type stuff, you know. I mean, this is a standard oil, but they do make additives, engine oil additives, transmission additives. It's, like I said, not snake oil. It's good stuff. Great company. So I'm glad to see that we have this. I mean, this is what we would be using on a regular basis anyway, so.
That's who they recommend it.
Yep. So we got all of that. There we go. So we'll get that out. Yes. All right. So yeah, we'll have enough. This will be enough. I was like, well, it looks like enough for one half of the job.
Told you I did my homework, Andy.
You did. It's not too bad.
This has been a long time coming.
Let's see how the styrofoam comes out of this one. So this is typically how it would come out, all in one piece. No surprises. This is a great little manual that comes with, again, Yukon, because they're making sure that their products get installed as properly as possible. So, all right, lid off. Again, similar setup where we have a ring and a pinion, obviously, but again, we'll just reiterate and say, here we have our paint marks that's showing gear contact pattern. So we can see the pattern centered on the tooth, not too far down, not too high. It's a really, really good pattern. We'll go over the details of patterns, during the build, but it looks really good. Looks really good. And most importantly, again, we can see that they ran it. Our pinion, same thing here. Get this puppy out there. We see our evidence of our pattern run here. There's really nothing on the pinion specifically that we're looking at pattern-wise or contact-wise. It's all on the ring, but again, they ran it, so we got it. And this is, I mean, for a front differential, this is a big gear set here. So we'll be doing the right stuff for the tires and for the transmission, the whole drive line. This book here, installation kit, instructions, the whole bit. Probably the greatest thing about this kit is what we find in the back, which is, is it just inside the front cover? Just inside the front cover. Setup specifications. So here's all of our different differentials, and most importantly, we have things like preload, pinion preload. That's something that we're going to work with, and backlash. So we have all of our specs for all of our different ones here, and even torque specs to go along with it. I mean, this being compact and this available is a fantastic thing. And then we also have a little guide here for tooth contact patterns. Now, I'll tell you, it looks simple here, okay, about as far as what's, pinion too close, acceptable patterns. Looks really simple. When you get into the process of doing it, it is a little bit like reading code. But at least you have this here as kind of like a rule of thumb. And yeah, it's a good manual. If you're going to gamble with doing it yourself, you're going to want to read through this and then call me when it doesn't go right, basically. So, but yeah, so there you have it. Looks like this is going to be a fantastic project. What are your thoughts?
I'm excited. It's been a long time coming, and trust me, if you're going to spend this much money and invest it into your vehicle, which you have to do if you're doing aftermarket stuff to your vehicle, you always have to have supporting mods for the mods that you're doing. My motto, I got a new motto: work hard, mod harder. Well, this is something you want to trust an expert with, and clearly Andy and Cheshire County Transmissions, they're the experts for this.
We got you guys. Yep. Whatever you need.
So with Andy being thorough, one thing we did discover during the unboxing is that there was no pinion bolts included with the kit. I supplied him my VIN number and he actually ordered the pinion bolts for the installation, which is probably happening today when you're watching this video, happening today. And that installation is gonna take a day and a half to do. And the wife, she's excited about that. But it's worth it. I got the experts on it. It's gonna be done right, Head. And then we're going to
Acetique.
We are going to Acetique. So we're gonna test those gears out along with the dual shock hoops, the Fox shocks that we installed at the JP shop. We're gonna test them out on Acetique Island on the beach. If all goes well.
But there's always Smitty problems.
There's always Smitty problems. But it's always good to be thorough to make sure everything's included in your kit, to make sure everything's there before you schedule the install. So I'm very glad that Andy suggested that we do an unboxing. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs up anyway. If you're stopping by for the first time,
Subscribe!
thank you guys. We'll see you on the next upload. Love you.
Love ya.